Hi everyone, today I'm sharing with you a whole bunch of different palettes that are really travel friendly. So they're, the ultimate sort of travel palettes. If you're like me and you love traveling, you also know that when you do pack, and as a side note, I love packing, it's my favorite, as opposed to unpacking, which is just the worst thing on earth. How depressing. But I do love packing because I love sort of going through all my stuff and finding out what my most loved bits and pieces are. This is for clothes and for cosmetics, and just choosing the bits and pieces that I want to take with me. So I've come up with a couple, well actually more than a couple, I've come up with a few palettes that I think are perfect to take with you on the road. Now the thing I love about these palettes is that they're multi-use, they're compact, their packaging is great for travel, and they're just great quality palettes. So these are products that I have taken away with me, I have used at home, or I am currently using, and they're just kind of foolproof products that I think work for a lot of people. So if you're interested in what palettes I suggest and recommend, then stay tuned. So the first palette I'm going to talk about is the Tarte Tartlet Tease palette. Now this is tiny, it's so good, it's like almost the size of a credit card, and the packaging is quite sturdy. You can take that with you and it's not going to smash everything inside unless you're very, very rough, but you need to be careful. And what I love about this palette is just the quality of the product inside. Now, I will leave a link below. You can see my entire review of this palette. The quality of shadows is just amazing. They're so beautifully pigmented and smooth, and the colors are lovely. Just a quick look. I also do love that it does have a mirror inside, but there is a wide range of shades there for you to create a whole bunch of eye looks. Now this is just an eye palette, but it is one of the best. Now this is the Stila Perfect Me Perfect Hue palette. I always get that confused, but this is a great palette for travel. The packaging is sturdy, it's got a great range of shades in there, and what's fantastic about this is that it's both a face and an eye palette. So you have two lovely shades of blush there, you have 4 eye shades, and then this 5th shade is actually an eye shade, but if you see my review, and I'll put a link to that as well, you'll see that I really like this just very, very sparingly used on the face. So it is quite a light shade. So for my skin tone, this is perfect, but keep in mind that this palette does come in some other shades. So I believe there's fair to light, light to medium, which is what this one is, and I believe there's medium to dark. So once again, loving this palette. The packaging is great, the quality of the shadows and the blushes are great. In terms of your color cosmetics, everything you need is in this. You can create quite a few looks with that. And if you do have dark brows like I do, you can use that shade for a brow as well. Another palette, now this one's a little bit different. This is for your, face products. So there are no eye products here, and this is a cream product. So this is the Makeup Forever Pro Sculpting palette. And when I first got this, I was kind of a little, not disappointed, but I suppose a little surprised at the size of it for the price, because it's quite a pricey product. You can pick this up from Sephora. But I did discover that you use so little of this. So only the smallest amount is needed to really get a lot of pigmentation. I'll show this to you in point of view so you can see what this looks like. But it's just a lovely palette. It's very, very portable, sleek, small, and you do have a highlight shade, you have a contour shade, which is nice and cool tone, you have a illuminator shade, which is really pretty, so a cream highlighter, and then you have a blush as well. That's a beautiful corally color. So I really recommend this one too if you are more into like cream products. If you're drier, you don't want to deal with too much powder while you're on holidays, this is a fantastic one. And what's great about this one as well is you can just use your fingers to blend. Finally, this is the one I'm most excited about. Now, this hasn't been released in Australia yet. I'm so lucky to have gotten my hands on this one. I had to do a bit of sneaky business to get this one. But this is the Nyx Go-to Palette. Now, this will be available in Priceline very shortly, and it's just amazing. There's so much beautiful product here, and they're so soft and buttery smooth. Now, I will again give you a close-up of this in a little while, so that you can see, what they all look like, how they swatch and the rest. But I'm wearing this palette today, and it was so smooth and blendable. It is a little, there is a bit of fallout, I have to say, but just use a light hand. This blush shade is so pigmented. I had to buff it out because it was the first time I used this today. But It was beautiful. It's beautiful. Like the shadows are lovely. There's, you know, a few shades there. If I was going to criticize anything about this palette, it's the fact that there is obviously no mirror. But when you're experiencing products at this price point for this quality, I don't mind that so much. The other thing that I think is the one downfall, so two downfalls with this palette, there is no mirror, but again, I don't care. I've got lots and lots of other things that have mirrors. That's fine. The other thing that I think is just slightly lacking from this palette is that they're all satin shades, except for, sorry, they're all shimmer shades, I should say, except for this one here. And that's a beautiful transition crease color. But I think if we had if that was in, let's say, a matte shade, that would have been beautiful as a base. So I think that's really the only oversight from NYX, because we have that beautiful shimmery shade there, but we could have used that highlight for that purpose anyway. So yeah, now these are a slim palette, so the pans are quite slim there, so you will need to be careful when you're picking up product. But other than that, this is perfect. This is so great. And again, the price is amazing. I'll have all the details of prices and where you can purchase all this stuff on the blog post, and there will be some details in the description box below. I also wanted to mention, now this isn't a palette, but it's an amazing little pack from NYX. So you have so many products there that you can use on the go in mini form. So really, essentially everything but your eyeshadow and your base product, so your foundation, is in this. So you could definitely travel with this and the small Tartlet palette. So what's in this pack is you do get a small primer, the pore filler primer, you get a liquid illuminator, you get a butter gloss, which is beautiful. I'm not sure what that shade is, I'll have to check. You get a blush and a bronzer, you get a setting HD powder. Now be aware that if you are going to be traveling with this and taking, going out at night and using this will cause some flashback, but for the day it's a beautiful product. And then you also have an all-over balm, which can be used on dry patches, on your lips, on anything like that. And you actually get a finishing spray as well. So that's a great little pack. So again, not a palette, but I just thought I'd mention it because it is so handy. And of course you have the clear case, which is fantastic for when you're traveling by plane. So these are the palettes that I am loving and recommending for travel. Keep watching and I'll show you these in a little bit more detail. So here's a closer look at these palettes. We'll start off with the Tartlet Tease palette. Now this is what we're dealing with when we have a quick swipe. So very, very pigmented, very high quality products. And using a brush to pick up a little bit of colour, you will see that the pigmentation is outstanding. Next, on to the Makeup Forever cream palette, and you can see it's been very well loved over the past few months. And again, you have 4 shades here in cream format, and they're all fantastically pigmented, but not too pigmented that they're too hard to work with. Look at that illuminating shade there. So here's what it looks like on the skin. There you go, can you see that? So it's very, very pretty. Here's a better look at the Stila Perfect Me Perfect Hue palette, and there's a big mirror there to cause mayhem, and here's what the shades look like. So we have 2 lovely blush shades, which I can swatch for you. There you go. And then we have 5 eyeshadows. Again, this one can be used for more just than the eyes. So here's what these look like. Again, very pigmented. And that's the shade there. It doesn't really show up much on the skin. And then lastly, the NYX Go-to Palette, which I have to admit I'm most excited for. I did mention before that I really would have loved to see some more mattes in here, but for what it is, it's fantastic. There's no reason why you couldn't take this and just 1 or 2 matte shades with you. And here's what it looks like in a little bit more detail. Can you see how beautiful and shimmery that is? And here's the quality of the shadows for you. So there you go. So great quality for the price point. Do you agree? There you go, sorry about that shadow. And so here are the face products. There you go, look at that, isn't that amazing? It reminds me a little bit of the Balm's Mary Lou, but it's slightly less champagne-y. But fantastic quality, right? So what do you think? These things that you would pick up, which one would you prefer to travel with? I'd love to know.